Adam, a struggling screenwriter, is going through a life filled with silence. He spends most of his time hovering over his laptop in search of words, or on a couch watching TV and eating crackers meaninglessly. One day, after falling asleep in this manner, he wakes up to the sound of an emergency alert test and, walking out of the building slowly and indifferently, sees that only 2 apartments are lit up. From the one that is illuminated in light blue, a figure is watching him. He doesn't pay much attention to anything, though. Frankly, his motions are solely mechanical. That night, an unexpected thing happens. A young man by the name of Harry knocks on his door. He seems to be the one watching him from the blue apartment. By the look of it, he seems to have had a drink or two. A half-full bottle is still in his hands as he tries to initiate a conversation. We learn here that this apartment building is very new, and only those 2 are currently inhabiting it. This is why the entire space is filled with an all-encompassing, depressing silence. This is exactly the topic the drunk Harry wants to discuss, but Adam does not express any sign of wanting to participate in that conversation at all. He smiles at him, though, and realizing that the latter is drunk, he rejects him when he asks with a slight sexual connotation to be invited inside. The rejection is polite, but direct. The door is closed in Harry's face, and the silence resumes, screaming in wrath. The next morning, the first words appear on Adam's computer screen. It seems that he wants his story to take place in a suburban house in 1987. This location and this time are quite important to him. The actual story doesn't write itself here, though. In search of inspiration, he walks over to his bedroom and takes out a box full of his childhood items. Memories unveil themselves in front of his eyes, and the pictures of the years far gone flash through his brain. From the window that doesn't open, in total silence, he sees a trail go by and ponders over something. Shortly after, we see him traveling by train, going away from the city. The sounds of the environment are perceived by him as if he were swimming in deep waters. Adam is completely drawn by his decision, though. Easily, he finds the house he once spent his childhood in, and sees a kid looking at him from a window that was once his. Walking through the meadows that encircle the area, he looks around the greenery for what seems like hours, until he looks back and notices a man watching him from a distance, giving him signs to follow his lead. Completely dissociated from reality, he follows this man around and allows us to have a better look at him. When finally, the stranger comes up to him, it is already night. Adam greets him with a familiar, ambiguous smile. The conversation is short and confusing, almost dreamlike. It is clear that the 2 know each other very well, and that they deem this reunion extremely important. This is exactly why the man bought a strong drink before inviting Adam to their home. Shortly after, he knocks on a door and tells his wife that she would never guess who he found wandering around the meadows. The woman sticks her head out of the entrance slowly and, astonished that it is really him, urges him to get inside. The dreamlike experience continues as he gradually uncovers the news about his life with this strange couple. Sitting at the front of the dining table, he tells them about his creative career, and more, as we see the caring attitudes and unwavering curiosity of the unknown couple, we get a sense that they are his parents, and this is supposed to be his childhood home. A touch of a kind, loving parent warms his heart, and soon the trio immerse themselves in remembering Adam's first memories. He seems to have always been a sensitive boy. Their farewell is melancholic. The parents would love to see him drop by any time in the days to come, but Adam is reluctant to make any promises. Coming back home, he meets Harry by the elevator. The latter feels sorry that he caused some inconvenience the other evening, and he apologizes. Just before he walks out of the elevator into his floor, however, he is unexpectedly invited to have a whiskey at Adam's place. The door closes in his face before he manages to respond, so Adam feels silly and embarrassed. He continues to embrace his childhood photos that night, and the next morning, an intangible wave of inspiration forces him to write. The experiences of yesterday are still burning hot as he looks outside his window, thinking about his writing, when he notices Harry waving at him. As it seems, they've changed places. A few minutes go by, and Harry appears at his door. This time, he is invited in warmly. 2 sober neighbors now decide to smoke. Over time, as Adam sits on the sofa and struggles to keep eye contact, the 2 discover they have a lot in common. Loneliness is the primary one of those commonalities, not mentioning that they are both gay. Even though it is the first time they are having a deep conversation, the silence seems powerfully intimate. The moment feels both real and magical, as if it were supposed to happen. After a few minutes of conversation, Harry initiates a kiss, and with little trace of awkwardness, they get closer and closer to each other until their lips touch. It is shortly after that they are both passionately embracing one another. illuminated by the fading sun. The moon is already beginning to come up when Harry looks through Adam's childhood photos, speaking about his own childhood in return. Shortly after, he learns that Adam is currently trying to write about them. They seem to have passed away in a car crash when he was only 12 years old. Harry understands something Adam doesn't explicitly express here. He can sense that, despite the fact that it's been a very long time since the accident, it still has a great toll on Adam's life. Harry asks if he could stay over tonight then, and compared to the other time, he realizes that it's not the best idea before Adam turns him down politely. Clearly, they would love to see each other again. The next day, Adam visits his parents' house once more. Soaking wet, he is greeted by his mother. She is the only one home today, and she is so excited to hear everything about her son's life. Adam goes upstairs to change. Standing in the middle of his room, memories come rushing in. He flicks through his old albums and journals until his mother comes up, holding his father's clothes. After all this time, Adam feels shy in front of his mother. The familiarity seems to have faded away, but he's still urged to take his clothes off. She's only his mother. More and more, as Adam undresses, she realizes in amazement that he looks just like her father. Sitting here, she can almost see two people in one. She makes his perfect pie, then asks him if he has a girlfriend. She's excited to hear about a brown-haired, smart girl, but she receives a negative answer. Adam decides to be fully honest with her and tells her that he's gay. The mother is a bit surprised, even stirred up. She is even more surprised to find out that everybody's fine with it now. She seems to be holding on to older ideas about sexuality. When she asks restlessly about the possibility of getting married and having kids, Adam becomes emotional too. This subject seems to hold quite a lot of importance to him on an unconscious level. Unfortunately, his mother's reaction to him coming out as gay isn't what one would have hoped for. The memories of running away resurface in Adam's mind, and he is reminded of how he once went as far as the train station to go to London all alone, and had to return home after losing money. This memory, too, stirs up some enormous, deeply buried sorrow in Adam's heart. His mother remembers another one of those times when he ran away, and hurt his fingers so much that he had to come back. A certain warmth comes back to her as strongly as ever, and we understand that her unpleasant reaction was due to the notion that gay people are, on a larger scale, supposed to walk on a particularly lonely trail of life. Her worry has no evil ground, and the scale of her stereotypical approach soon makes Adam smile. The word loneliness, however, hits him quite deeply. He truly is lonely. However, his loneliness must have a deeper and more complicated set of determinants. Adam was looking for a warm, wholehearted welcome, but all he got instead was an encounter with troubles he's been trying to forget. When Harry comes to him that evening, he immediately notices that something's wrong. He doesn't ask too many questions. He simply comes up with the universal solution to any problem and draws a hot bath for him. Shy to take off his clothes in front of another person for the second time in one day, Adam gets inside and feels relieved. As the scalding heat evaporates in the tub and the water gets warmer, the moment between Harry and Adam gradually becomes hotter and hotter, thanks to Harry's direct and calm audaciousness. In the next scene, as they're lying in Adam's bed, he shares more details about his life. His family seems to be much like Adam's in terms of following old-school attitudes. He doesn't speak with his parents anymore, and has always been on the perimeter of the family. Like an unarbitrary hermit in his own kin, he got used to the chilling loneliness, and this resonates strongly with Adam. Tears come to his eyes as he thinks to himself that it takes only a single tiny memory to make him feel as if he's going through the same pain of loneliness again. This time, Harry is invited to stay overnight. The next morning, when Adam gets to his parents' house, it is his father who greets him. Until Mom comes back, he puts on the music that he loves and invites him to sit down and get comfortable. By the look of it, he seems to already know about his son's orientation. He has a surprisingly thoughtful attitude towards all of it. After trying to justify his wife's reaction, he makes Adam laugh by emphasizing jokingly that he always knew in a way that his son was a bit tutty-frutty. When the joining part is done, he remembers the times he used to come home crying. He says this as an ordinary thing, but Adam catches something really meaningful in it. Invoking full honesty in his father, he asks her why he chose not to go into his room when he heard his son crying. The dad's expressions become a little chilly, and expressing what he genuinely felt back then, he says something hurtful. He indicates that he knew back then that if he had been one of his schoolmates, he would have picked on him and made him cry too. He must have felt a glimpse of disappointment and bitterness that made him not enter Adam's room to soothe his pain and loneliness. Realizing to what degree his actions contributed to his son's troubles, The father soon finds himself in the hands of an uncontrollable feeling of guilt. Suddenly, tears start falling from his face as he struggles to keep his voice still, and even Adam is quick to cry, while trying to assure him that he is not to blame for his bad childhood. He remembers some good memories too, and it is truly tough to describe the emotion it brings to watch as the two embrace one another after the father apologizes for everything. After this moment, Adam is eager to venture into the world with Harry. That night, they both get wasted in a club, and the tendency to experience life in a new, brighter light continues the next day too. Adam resumes his writing with renewed passion, and the couple immerse themselves in a brand new, happier existence. Loneliness becomes nothing more than a nightmare of the past. The part of Adam that screams in solitude, however, seems to still linger within the deepest levels of his unconscious mind. One night, after having a nightmare, Adam finds himself in his childhood bed. Coming downstairs, he encounters his parents, engaged in preparation for Christmas. This is one of the most valuable happy memories from the past. Re-experiencing it, the happiest moments of his life represent themselves in his mind, and unusually enough, it all seems real. It is so pleasantly warm to his entire being that Adam is left wondering how long it will pass. But unfortunately, there can be no answer to that. Afraid that his parents will leave and evaporate from his life forever, he clings to his mother before going back to bed, but the latter assures him that she'll be asleep just next door. Still, Adam fails to sleep, and just like he used to when he was a child, he creeps into his parents' bed and places himself comfortably between his father and mother. She whispers to him and makes him feel as safe as she would often do long ago. She speaks to him honestly here, admitting that she tends to be overwhelmed by Adam's trait of being afraid of loneliness and abstract dangers lurking in the dark. Turning to him then, she asks how his life went after the crash. As it seems, her mother took care of Adam, and a nameless feeling, most strongly resonating anger and guilt, grabs her being as she realizes that her mother got to raise Adam in front of her. Her current state is even more sorrowful in light of the fact that she's feeling guilty for not being there for him when she actually could have. The only thought that can make her feel slightly better is that she didn't get a chance to get better at being a good mom. She likes to think now that, over time, she might have exceeded it. This intimate moment between the mother and the son gets even more heartbreaking when Adam decides to share the most intricate details of his adolescence with her. It seems he used to make up stories of how their family life would have looked if the fateful crash never happened, and he made it as detailed as possible, even including the non-stop soul-tiring and unresolved fights. Sobbing, he says that it didn't matter. The most important thing was that they were together. Seeing her child shed tears in front of her, the mother tries to share some of her warmth, and to add to this, Adam's father calls to him from the back too, saying that everything will be okay. Adam turns back and unexpectedly sees the face of Harry in the place of his father. Harry kisses him and tells him that everything will be okay. Soon, both the mother and Harry disappear, and he finds himself laying in his own bed all alone. This isn't the end of the dream, however. Soon, he hears anxious knocking, and a sound of alarm makes him wake up in one abrupt motion. Adam finds himself sitting on a subway train, trying to regain control over his breathing. Outside on the platform, he sees Harry walking by and starting a chase. He tails him as Harry appears and disappears in the distance. Adam feels terribly odd. Feeling sick and afraid, he sits himself down on a moving train and, looking at himself in the window, sees a disfigured, screaming figure. When he finally manages to truly wake up, he finds Harry lying next to him. A terrible, confusing truth is articulated to him then. It seems that nothing happened in reality. After what happened at the club, he seems to have screamed for his parents in a state of altered consciousness and had to be returned home by Harry and put to bed. No time has passed since then. Overwhelmed by everything, Adam falls into an immeasurable fear, and after a few minutes of embracing Harry, he feels safe enough to start telling him about the darkest memory he has. Venturing into this recollection, he remembers how his parents went to have some drinks with their friends at Christmas. He wanted to go with them, but thankfully, he was put to bed until, at midnight, 2 policemen knocked on the door to let him know about the accident. His parents' car seems to have slipped over black ice, and the crash proved fatal to both. He was told afterwards that his mother lost an eye, and Adam even managed to chuckle while recalling how he went in search of it one day. He adds that, as his grandmother was told, his mother woke up in the hospital, but in her confused state, she found no one she knew by her side. Sharing what he felt upon being told about this horrifying news, Adam says that it wasn't just loneliness. He had always felt lonely, even before the accident. It was more like a fear of eternal loneliness. And to be frank, This is what reigns over most of his life, even now. The only difference is that as he got older, he gradually became more and more indifferent about it. Harry knows exactly what he means. This is why his gaze seems so genuine and true. They are so close in this moment that Adam decides to take him somewhere secret. That night, they are standing at the door of his parents' house. Confused, Harry watches as Adam rings the bell and starts going around the house restlessly, claiming that his parents still live here. Adam bangs on every window and calls for his mother and father anxiously, and blood starts freezing in Harry's veins when he notices two figures in the doorframe. Adam begs to be let inside, but the door stays shut. In the next scene, he wakes up in his parents' bedroom. They praise Harry's appearance, but still underline that they can't let him in. Afterward, the mother gets interested in Adam's feelings towards Harry. Speaking about it, he uncovers that he has no idea how to trust the feeling inside. Silence falls then, and by some sudden premonition, Adam realizes what his parents are going to say next. Watching what these reunions do to their child, they've decided to ask him never to come again. A dark moment of desperation comes to Adam. He wants it to last a little bit longer, but it has to end. Adam has to let go of his parents. They can clearly see how tough it is for their child to accept it. They aren't feeling very light themselves, so to make it much easier for everybody, they suggest going to Adam's favorite place and spending their last day together. The place is called Whitgift, and Adam is eager to eat the largest family special they have. His father asks him the question that has been bugging him for a long time. He wants to know the details of his demise. The truth relieves them. Afterwards, all three find themselves searching for words. Nothing seems to fit the significance of the occasion. Soon, however, the dad starts talking first. He expresses how proud he and his wife are of Adam, seeing him struggle his way through all the pains of a lonely life, and watching as he keeps on going, is more than enough for them to say in full confidence that they are proud of their son. As warm as it is to hear these words from his father, Adam can't help but feel an immeasurable amount of sadness. He soon finds himself drawn to tears as he pleads with them not to leave, but to stay a bit longer. But as heavy as it is for the parents, they must say goodbye to one another too. Seeing them kiss each other farewell makes Adam smile, and this is the state he's in when the most important words are said to him. The father tells him how much they love him. This is the truest and most genuine words Adam has ever heard. And in this way, the most meaningful knowledge is conveyed to him. His mother urges him to try his luck with Harry, to take care of him, and to give love a chance. Holding her hands, Adam finds himself slowly becoming hopeful for the future. When the family special is finally brought to him, he is already alone. He has let his parents go. Completely changed, he returns to Harry as a different person. Upon arriving, he slowly walks around his apartment, which is strangely messed up. The place is empty and hollow. The fizzling of the TV is the only sound that breaks the silence as he investigates the area and becomes more and more assured that something is wrong. Afraid to find something horrifying, he knocks on his door and, after getting no answer, has a peek inside. What he sees inside makes his entire body fall into a primitive fight or flight state. After gathering enough courage to enter, he walks inside and, covering his nose, approaches Harry's corpse. Sitting on the edge of his bed, he hears a noise coming from the living room. When he goes over to check carefully, he sees Harry alive and well, asking him what he's doing there. He justifies what Adam saw inside the room by remembering that after being at his parents' house that night, he got afraid. He needed not to be alone. Adam says a genuine, heartfelt sorry that he couldn't let him get inside the house. After a couple of seconds of deep silence, the semi-spiritual Harry looks over to the room and realizes that his body is in his bed. The fact that no one found him before Adam makes him angry and almost spiteful. He says that Adam shouldn't have been the one to see him in that state, but the latter assures him that it is fine. To Adam, the real Harry is here, in front of him, scared and confused. All they have left to do now is get away from this place and go upstairs. Covered in warm red light, they lay on his bed in the next scene, remembering what happened and making up scenarios of what would have happened. The moment comes about then of the deepest connection between the two. Sharing how scared they are to venture into the unknown together, they gaze at one another, knowing that no matter what, they will be together. This is the way their biggest fear of spending eternity in loneliness disappears. Compared to his parents, Adam won't have to say goodbye to the love of his life during the last seconds of his life.